drone over Lebanon. France just shot down an Israeli drone over Lebanon. But what happened next will shock you. Today, French peacekeeping troops working for the UN said, quote, "The drone flew aggressively over one of our patrols." And you need to know, because the Israeli drone did that, the French troops thought that they were going to be bombed. And so the French troops, quote, "took necessary defensive countermeasures to neutralize the drone." In other words, they shot it down. And in response to these French troops doing that, Israel actually attacked the French troops without a care that this could genuinely start a war. France said, quote, "A second Israeli drone then dropped a grenade close to the patrol." And it gets worse. Not only did Israel try to blow up these French troops with a grenade, but France also said, quote, "Shortly after that, an Israeli tank fired in the direction of the peacekeeping troops." Now, despite all of this fighting, luckily nobody was injured, but the UN called it, quote, "deeply concerning." And even the French government spoke on it. They said Israel's actions were, quote, "despicable, dangerous, and unacceptable." So these French peacekeeping troops in Lebanon shot down an Israeli drone that they thought was going to bomb them. And in response to that, Israel dropped a grenade on these troops, and then they got their tanks to open fire on the troops. Huge news, this could get worse. But separately, I just got banned from making any money from these videos. And that genuinely means that I can't afford to keep bringing you the news anymore. And
All right, Shalom. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutation to all the brothers and the few sisters that's out there. That's like foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. One way or another, that welfare state is going to drag this whole entire world to endless war that's going to end everybody. These people are the worst people on the planet Earth. And I believe if they do that, which is to be seen, can cause a trigger, a reaction that's going to change the whole dynamic of how alliances are made and how alliances are broken. And even with DJ, that devil, he was talking about getting out of NATO. Now, these these rats with hats, the next step they wanted to go, they're going after Iran, Lebanon, somewhere else. I think they're Yemen. And they said the next one in their list is Turkey. Turkey is part of NATO for the time being. So they're going after NATO's allies, which if you strike one ally, there's a thing called Article 5. And we know for a fact that the United States of America, Babylon the Great, is not going to go and do anything about it because that's their bitch. Oh, I mean, sorry. The U.S. is Israel's bitch. So these people are going to force the hands, which they were designed to, right? To force the hands of the world into war. Wow. I'm going to start here. Revelation 6:4 says, "And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth." And that's what they have done. They have taken the peace from the earth. All right. And now the world is more in a chaotic state as it has ever been before. Now, people may think that this is the worst time in history, like this has come out of the blue, but everything that they have done since they've been in power is leading to the worst possible outcome, because these people, they run on destruction. They run on chaos. They feed off of the chaos, destruction, the massacres, famines, right, the pestilence. They're parasites in every fashionable manner. All right. Anything that you call devastating, life altering events, that's what these people all about? When I mean these people, I'm talking about Esau in general. All right, all the Edomites. They live off of chaos. They see they look at chaos as something that's a normal thing in life. If there's a moment of peace, sorry, they want to disrupt that. See, there's no peace in this man's vocabulary. This is why no matter what guidance or nation that they the banner that they jump on, the French, the Spaniards, the British, the Dutch, the Portugals, the Germans, the Italians, whatever they want to call themselves, they always find themselves in war. All right. That's why the Lord said it the best: is if a house is divided against itself, how can it stand? And it cannot stand because it's supposed to be put together. It's going to crumble. So they take peace from the earth, and that they shall kill one another. And it was given to him a great sword. And that great sword is talking about this ICBM nuclear missile, the great equalizer of the planet Earth right now. But like I made a statement. Let me get that real quick. Revelation 20. Let me go to the point. How did I get there? 28 to the point. It's talking about Esau Edom coming out of the dark ages and become the Renaissance period that became the short, the little season that they're in power. All right, which we are entering. That little season that they are in power is coming to an end. And it is because it says, I'm quoting scriptures too, that the Lord said He's seen Satan falling as lightning. And that was not just a terminology, that was the reality. Because in the sight of the Lord, despite this man's in his blessing in his kingdom, it's going to be a short-lived kingdom. And we could clearly see they can't even get along with each other. And they're going to find somehow some way to drag the rest of NATO into it. It says, and they shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, which is northwest, southeast. They spread their lies throughout the four corners of the earth. They spread um, their, uh, their philosophies and so forth, right? And the majority of people, well, the majority of these nations, their concern is the bottom line, the dollar, or any form of finances. Because it's the international bankers that really benefits from all this madness and chaos. All right? They don't give a damn about anything. The outcome is they want to establish a new world order. So this deception is not overnight. This is a buildup. All right? This was the biggest buildup in human history to maintain that lie to the point where they can't even trust one another, and for each other to say, we, we're going to stick together no matter what, because they're not. They're greedy, they're wicked. That's Esau for you. All right? It says, which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is Russia. All right? Gog in the land of Magog. They're going to get involved, which is the war to end all wars. That's why the scripture says in Revelation 13, in the second verse, about the beast. The head of it was a leopard, and the feet was a bear, which is symbolic of Esau's power. Started with the Greeks, which they always like to claim, and is going to end with Russia. Okay, And that's why NATO was established. NATO was established to destroy Russia. That's why all these European nations who had their differences amongst each other, think about it. Was it World War One? Italy was in the axis of power of Germany, Austria, and all this good stuff. Japan was involved, and is right in the mid of it all. Germany, which was the focal point of two world wars, and then right in the midst of all this madness. So they finally put their differences aside, so we think, and establish an alliance called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty, right? And this North Atlantic Treaty was to go against the USSR, and we're gonna stick together no matter what. And now look, you got the president of the United States who wanted to get out of NATO, calling him a paper tiger. And what they failed to understand, this is the whole point of it all. The ones that's pulling the strings behind the scenes is the one that's leading the world into Armageddon. All right. The French did not want no involvement of this American, the US, and Israeli war. But yet they're being called out by the US, and they're being pushed by the US to get involved because they know for a fact, the US does, that it does not stand a chance of what's going on. This is why he keeps giving up a deadline, simultaneously building up troops over there. But this is all for the gathering them together to the battle. All right, that battle is Armageddon. So this is a great gathering that's taking place. It says the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. So the French, the British, what's admitted? Oh, Spain. They all try to make it public, like they're not involved in um this controversy, this war. They don't want no part of it, but yet they find themselves stuck because they're being pulled. All right, they're being pulled to it, and that gutter rat society, they're not good. They're not good playing. What you call it? They don't believe in any alliances. All right, so they turn on their own selves to drag these other people into this war that they started to back them up because the French are not going to go out there and fight the small hatters. Who do you think run that country? All right, so they're dragging them. Don't be surprised if the UK or any of these other European nations get hit by a terrorist attack and they get involved with this. But yet they're going to turn on America, like the scripture says, Revelation 17:15. It says, "And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, which are the people, where the whore sitteth, are the people. So the whore, which is America, sitteth on all people." Now, Trump had an issue with the Supreme Court about naturalization. He's trying to redefine what is naturalization, which ironically funny that his grandfather was a immigrant. Okay, so he's trying to change the definition of naturalization to spin the narrative that he's done. Where did I bring that up? Oh yeah, but the U.S. was the establishment or the foundational thing of U.S. is what slavery. genocide, mainly the genocide of the Native Americans, right? Gad, Reuben, hey, even Issachar, which are what they call the Mexicans today. Then they brought in Judah over here and so forth. But the other foundational piece of it is a land of immigrants. So she sitteth over all these different nations, multiple of nations. It says, in the multitudes and the nations in tongues, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. And who's the whore? The whore is America. Who's the beast? NATO/EU. And we now to see the scriptures clearly what it's talking about. Everybody can see clear as day, especially when this guy kept talking about how you want to get out of NATO. NATO is weak, is this, is that. He's just talking shit. So he, Nero, is making it far worse for the beast to get involved. So the beast is not going to get involved for the likes of Israel. Let's bomb them. Let's force their hand. And that's what they're doing. They're forcing their hand. It says, in 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate, which was what? Thermonuclear destruction, and naked, and they shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. But the Most High have put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree. And that agreement was the Treaty of Rome, right? Where they felt that they were Romans again, bringing everything back. They brought the beast back to life by this alliance, all right? By this crazy alliance of nations that should never really been together, but all it was created for was to go against the USSR. And this gutter rat system is trying to remind them why they was there, why it was established for. But the underlying tone is to protect that region because they're losing. They're losing bad. Trump said, "What? Are we winning so much? We don't know what to do," which is a lie. They're losing bad. It says that's why they're trying to drag all these other European nations in to get involved for backup. Hey, the U.S. is not. They're not even a freaking 100,000 yet. But the Israelis are not even sending their own soldiers into this war because they're too busy attacking other nations to start up to keep the shit going. This shit is never gonna die down. They're gonna make sure that he keeps talking about 2 to 3 weeks. When that 2 or 3 weeks is up, they're gonna keep dragging him. They're gonna remain there. All right, they're gonna remain there. They say he shall put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree. That's the birth of that alliance, and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest, the great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth, which is America, the influence. This is why he can make us think about um, NATO not holding their end of the bargain. All of a sudden, Psalms, I'm just gonna end it off in there. 55. 20. Yeah, put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him and broken his covenant. So If you're in an alliance, you're not supposed to break any sort of covenant. You see something? Because you're in an alliance. All right. That's the point of, you gotta watch each other's back. But these devils, they don't believe in that. See, no, that's not what I was thinking about. Well, it says, "I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war." Wow, that's a good one. So yeah, the French is now going to get dragged in slowly but for surely. All the NATO is going to get dragged into this war, and they're never going to come out of it. This is truly the war of Armageddon. This is the Hawashaphat, right? And we living in some beautiful times more than ever. Keep your eyes glued to the news, whatever goes on. It's going to be repetitive. It's going to be um, ongoing. But hey, that's what we're here for. We was put on Earth not to enjoy the scenery, to report about the things that's coming. All right, so he did that to his own alliance. This house is not gonna remain; it's gonna crumble. With that being said, shalom to the elect and the nations. Shalom.